Last spring, I took my first solo cruise, a 5-day trip through the Gulf of Mexico. I'd saved up for months, and I was honestly excited to unplug, relax, and enjoy the open sea. They assigned me to cabin 418, toward the middle of the ship on the starboard side. Quiet hallway, ocean view, nothing fancy. The first 2 days were perfect, sunsets, cocktails, zero responsibilities. But on the third night, I was woken around 2 a.m. by something strange. Footsteps. Slow, soft pacing, back and forth. Coming from the cabin next to mine, cabin 416. It sounded like someone pacing right against the wall we shared. I figured someone was jet-lagged or couldn't sleep. I rolled over and forgot about it. But the next night, it happened again. Same time, same pacing. Then, water running, and a quiet hum, like someone speaking softly to themselves. I didn't sleep. The next morning at breakfast, I casually asked one of the crew members if the guests in 416 were all right. Maybe they were sick or confused. She blinked. "That cabin's not booked," she said. "It's sealed. Maintenance issue." That stopped me cold. I told her what I heard, but she just smiled politely and offered to make a note of it. Her tone made it clear. Drop it. I didn't. That night, I stayed up intentionally, sitting on the edge of my bed with the lights off and my phone ready. At 2:11 a.m., the pacing started again. I pressed my ear to the wall. It was right there. Then the bathroom faucet. Then, laughter, software, female, familiar somehow. I knocked gently on the wall. It stopped. Suddenly, my TV turned on by itself, static blasting through the quiet. I jumped up and turned it off. When I turned around, I froze. There was a wet footprint on the carpet. Just one. Right inside my cabin door. At sunrise, I went straight to the front desk. I asked to speak to security. I wasn't going to play it off anymore. 2 officers accompanied me back to the hallway. They opened cabin 416 with a master key. It was empty, sheets stripped, dusty, no signs of occupancy, except there were faint, wet footprints across the tile, leading toward the bathroom. They wouldn't say much, but one officer pulled me aside and asked softly, "Did you hear anything unusual?" I nodded. He just nodded back and said, "That cabin hasn't been used since 2018. A guest went missing from it. Storm hit that night. We never found her." They moved me to a different room. I slept the rest of the cruise with the lights on. Now, anytime I travel, hotel, cruise, Airbnb, I check the room next to me. And if it's supposed to be empty, but I hear something moving, I don't knock. I just leave. It was my second night aboard a week-long Caribbean cruise. I'd joined the trip solo, one of those reset-your-life decisions after a breakup and a job change. I figured sunshine, ocean views, and bottomless buffets would help me clear my head. On the second night, during the welcome cocktail mixer, I noticed a man standing near the bar. Older, maybe mid-60s, gray suit, perfectly groomed. He wasn't talking to anyone, just standing there with a drink in hand. Staring. What caught my eye was that I'd seen him earlier that day at the pool, and at breakfast, and again at the lifeboat drill, always alone, always silent, always watching. Over the next few days, I kept seeing him. He sat 3 rows behind me at the theater. He stood near the railing during sunset. I even saw him outside the gym at 6 a.m., still in that same gray suit. No towel, no sweat. And one night at dinner, a woman at my shared table said, "Have you noticed that guy in the suit? He's been at every meal, but I've never seen him eat." I laughed it off at the time, but later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I went through the photos I'd taken on the trip so far. He was in almost every one, in the background, by the elevator, leaning at the edge of the pool deck, always facing the camera. The next morning, I waited. I knew from experience he'd be near the observation deck at sunrise. Sure enough, There he was, standing near the railing, staring out at the sea. I approached him. My heart was racing, but I kept my voice steady. "Hey, sorry if this is weird, but have we met? I feel like I've seen you a lot on this trip." He turned to look at me. His expression was kind, calm, but his eyes looked too old, like they'd seen far more than 7 days at sea. He smiled. "You're the first person to ask me that in a long time," he said. Then he turned and walked straight through the door to the staff-only stairwell. I reported it, casually, to a staff member at the front desk. When I described him, she froze. She pulled up a photo on her computer. It was him, but it looked older, faded. The file was dated 2002. She said, "That was a guest. He went overboard 2 decades ago. Body was never found. People say he still walks the ship during every anniversary cruise." That night I went back through my photos again. In one of them, the one from my first day, he was right behind me. I still cruise. But now, when I'm alone on the deck and someone quiet stands nearby, I take a step to the side. And if I ever see someone too still, too quiet, and never eating, I don't make eye contact. Because if you acknowledge him, he'll follow you home. I was 3 days into a 7-night cruise through the Caribbean, alone, relaxed, and completely off the grid. No Wi-Fi, no stress, just sunrise views, tropical drinks, and endless blue water. On the 3rd morning, we hit heavy fog. The ship slowed down, and an announcement came over the intercom. Due to mechanical checks, we'll be making a brief unscheduled stop at a nearby island. You're welcome to explore. I thought that was odd. The cruise had strict port schedules, and I'd looked them all up before booking. But sure enough, within an hour, we docked at a small, jungle-covered island with no name on the map. It was beautiful, sure, but strangely empty. There were no souvenir shops, no tour guides, just a winding trail through the trees and a few locals waiting near the dock. They smiled politely, said very little, and gestured for us to walk the trail. A small group of us, maybe 15 passengers, decided to explore. The further we walked inland, the quieter it got. The jungle absorbed every sound, no birds, no bugs, just the crunch of our footsteps. After about an hour, I started to get nervous. The trees all looked the same, no signs, no markers. I turned to the group and asked if anyone remembered the way back. No one did. That's when the air changed. The breeze stopped. The light dimmed, like a storm was coming, but the sky was clear. Someone pulled out their phone, but there was no signal, not even a clock, just a black screen. One woman tried to retrace our steps, but the trail was gone. Just jungle, thick, dense. And then all at once we heard music, soft, distant, like an old music box playing far away. We followed it back to the dock, half running. It took us twice as long to return, but when we arrived, the ship was gone. No gangplank, no dock crew, just ocean. We waited. Hours passed. Then the sky began to darken again, but instead of a storm, we saw lights on the horizon. A different cruise ship, smaller, was approaching. It wasn't ours. When they docked, a man on the crew called out, "We weren't expecting anyone. What are you doing here?" We explained everything. His face went pale. "There's nothing scheduled here. No ship was cleared to stop on this island. Not in over 20 years. They took us aboard and gave us food, water, blankets. When I checked my phone, the date said we'd only been gone 1 day. But we had memories, days of wandering, not hours. Back home, I looked up the island. Nothing came up. No name, no coordinates, no record. I still wonder. What would have happened if no one came? What if that island wasn't a place at all, but a trap?